And big weekend for the South African team. Do or die in the EPCR Challenge Cup, because we have got 3 of our teams in the round of 16. Lions, Bulls, Sharks, all vying for a place in the quarterfinals. Sharks looking to go back-to-back in the Challenge Cup, whilst the Bulls and Lions try to keep the hopes alive of a first ever European title. And the Bulls received a lot of criticism for the fact that they did not prioritize the Champions Cup and go sort of full out to try and qualify. And what's quite interesting is this week, Saracens coach have actually come out and said that they've decided to prioritize the league season, not the Champions Cup. And what will be interesting is the fallout of that, and whether people will take the same sort of exception for prioritizing the Premiership versus the Champions Cup. But the Bulls got the flag for. But the point is, what's done is done, and now it's about some really, really good sides in this Challenge Cup and just how far the South African sides can go. And it's going to be a big ask if they're going to even get past this weekend. So if we look at it, this is what we've got to look forward to. And yeah, I think it's going to be a fantastic weekend of rugby. So it all starts tonight with Edinburgh versus the Lions. As a Lions fan, very nervous, to be perfectly honest. And it's not a competition I think we're really sort of going all in on. I do think that we're trying to see if we can just sneak into the URC playoffs, and that gets into the Champions Cup next season, because that's the big, draw card of the Challenge Cup, as it gets you into the Champions Cup, obviously, and it's silverware. But, you look at the 2 teams being named. I mean, this is the Lions side. It's a good side. No Henk van Wyk, who continues to be made of glass and is injured once again, unfortunately. And but it's some interesting decisions. JC Pretorius, they've very much gone with an impact bench. The likes of JC Pretorius on the bench, Marius Lowe on the bench, Nico Steyn on the bench as well, because Morne van den Berg has flown over for the match itself. So that's quite exciting to see him starting. I think he's a huge part of the Lions side. Reinhard Jonker, that inside center, that's going to be a big test. So, yeah, I mean, it's a Lions side that we know if they can click, they can get a result. I genuinely think they can beat Edinburgh, but it's a very strong Edinburgh side. Pierre Schoeman comes in, Dave Cherry starting. You've got Sam Skidgron or Gilchrist, full international, Locke Perring, Jamie Richard, Hamish Watson, Magnus Bradbury. It's a proper loose trio. The back line features the likes of Darcy Graham, no Johan van der Merwe, who's still injured, but Wes Goosen, for example, he brings up 50. Yeah, so it's an Edinburgh side. It's a good pack, and I think the Lions obviously will have to try and match that at scrum time and physically, for example, try and dominate that. And I think if the Lions win tonight, there'll be big games for Frank Horn. I think Ruan Fent will have to play well. I think Asenati and Klabikanya will be pivotal at scrum time, and I think that Quan Horn, for example, it's your usual suspect. It's your big sort of Springbok players, in inverted commas, and that's kind of what we need to see tonight. Is that the Lions, Springboks, inverted commas, or players with the Springbok radars really standing up and coming good. And if they do, there's a result that can be taken. I just think that, with the challenges of traveling the likes of that, and you've got some fantastic sides in this side. I mean, Bath, for example, I think are probably obviously your sort of leading candidates really to win the Challenge Cup. So Edinburgh, I think, will also be another one that'll be fancying their chances. Racing have had a terrible season in the top 14, but they'll be thinking maybe this is a way of getting some silverware. So looking elsewhere at the weekend, you've got Paarl versus Bath tonight as well. Tomorrow you've got Avon Bayonne taking on the Bulls, and all the games are away from a South African perspective, and this is why I think it's going to be so difficult for them to get results. Montpellier versus Gloucester, USAP versus Racing, Connacht versus Cardiff, Lyon versus Sharks, Ospreys versus Scarlets. So, I mean, if we look at the Bulls, for example, we haven't seen the team being named. I do expect it to be relatively strong. I do think that this could be something that the Bulls could potentially win. I do think they are favourites alongside the likes of Bath and Racing. So they'll back themselves, tomorrow. It's a 1:30 kickoff, so it's during the day. It'll be quite warm, I'd imagine, in comparison to playing, for example, Edinburgh tonight. The Bulls are under a bit of pressure, I think, to perform, because they haven't really featured in the Champions Cup to the extent that I think that a lot of people would have hoped. They've featured far more than the other teams, but I think, if we're being brutally honest, you look at the Sharks, you look at the Bulls, you look at the Stormers. The Bulls are far more settled, and I think that's where the expectation comes. That we kind of expect the Bulls to be a little bit more competitive, and I think they had everything they needed actually to get into the round of 16 of the Champions Cup, which they've done before, and potentially get into a quarterfinal, semi-final. We know right now we just do not have the player capacity to compete for the Champions Cup. It's the reality, and that's not going to change overnight. It's going to be a long process. But the Bulls, for example, today they announced the signing of Billy LaRue, bringing in Andre Pollard, keeping big players. That is how they build a squad good enough to be able to compete on two separate fronts. And that's the big challenge that Jake White has spoken about. You know, the idea of trying to compete on two different fronts. And they need to have a big squad. You have to have squad depth. That's why Toulouse can do it because and Leinster can do it because you look at a second string or third string Leinster side that came last week and took the Bulls right to the end and beat the Sharks. You know, and that's the kind of squad depth that the African sides do not have. The Sharks, they take on Leon on Sunday, 6:30 kickoff over there. And I think, you know, that, well, 7:30, I think. Actually, I'm not sure what the South African time. I think it actually is 6:30 South African time, in fairness. That is going to be a huge game because the Sharks are desperate for success. They're not finding it as easily as they wanted. This season so far, I think they've been very inconsistent. And so I don't think a lot of people have got the expectations. But they've won this competition. And that was a huge moment. What I think is frustrating is that they haven't kicked on from there. You know, they won this competition. They got into the Champions Cup. And I think a lot of people sat there going, right, well, here we go. They've arrived. And they didn't get into the next round of the Champions Cup. So they dropped down back to the Challenge Cup. If they were to go back-to-back, it would be a huge boost for them. And I don't think they've got what it takes to win the URC, just from a consistency point of view. This could potentially be something they could focus on. And I'll be very interested to see the type of team they name, whether because that's at the end of the day, we're going to see how seriously these teams are taking it. The Lions taking it seriously. They've gone full strength. So, which is quite an interesting one, because I think that I personally would be quite tempted almost to have brought a few players home and gotten them ready for next week. Home game, got 4 home games in a row to try and get into those URC playoffs, and maybe that could have been the focus. But the Lions have gone full strength. They have shown the competition the respect that it deserves. Whether the Bulls and the Sharks go full strength, we'll wait and see. Even the other sides, you know, we'll wait and see whether they go sort of full strength and the likes of that. But in terms of the prospects, I think 2 out of 3 would be a great weekend. I don't see how we get all 3 teams in the quarterfinals. It would be a massive statement, you know, to have 3 South Africans, 3 out of 8 teams being South Africans, but unfortunately they're all down in the Challenge Cup. And then we've got the awkward situation with the Stormers where they didn't even qualify for the Challenge Cup. So it's not been a good season in the EPCR competition, and that's why there's been a lot of criticism leveled towards South African sides in terms of their performance. Now, the Lions, you can't really sort of lump them in there because they, in the Challenge Cup, they got themselves through the round of 16. That's kind of what was expected of them. It's more the Bulls, the Sharks, and the Stormers where they just haven't been able to compete in the Champions Cup and go on to the next round. In terms of my predictions, I think that the Lions probably don't get the job done. I think the Bulls should if they go full strength. I think the Sharks should as well, or could at least. So going down the list, I'm seeing I'm going Edinburgh likely, then Bath, Bulls, Gloucester in Montpellier could be an interesting one. I think it could be a flip of a coin, to be honest. I'm going to say Gloucester. I'm going to go with Connacht over Cardiff. I'm going to go with Racing because I think from a cup point of view, I think they've got the players to get a job done. I think Ospreys at home will want to beat Scarlets after what happened last weekend. I think the Sharks can get the job done there as well. I do think that a lot of home advantage will play a big role. We saw that in the URC, for example. Your home teams win. And the Challenge Cup, I think, will be very similar. That's why I think the Lions, it's a huge ask for me, or for them to go to Edinburgh and beat Edinburgh in those conditions, and they've been on the road for a while as well. So maybe they've adapted those conditions. You know, I suppose that is a potential silver lining, but I think the reality is those conditions are just really, really difficult to play in. But what do you think? Let me know down in the comments below. Smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel as well. I want to know what your predictions are and who you think is going to go into those quarterfinals, and we'll talk to you guys very, very soon. My name is Steve, and thanks for watching. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Forever Sports, and big weekend for the South African team. Do or die in the EPCR Challenge Cup because we have got 3 of our teams in the round of 16. Lions, Bulls, Sharks all vying for a place in the quarterfinals. Sharks looking to go back-to-back in the Challenge Cup, whilst the Bulls and Lions trying to keep the hopes alive of a first ever European title. And the Bulls received a lot of criticism for the fact that they did not prioritize the Champions Cup and go sort of full out to try and qualify. And what's quite interesting is this week Saracens coach have actually come out and said that they've decided to prioritize the league season, not the Champions Cup. And what will be interesting is the fallout of that, and whether people will take the same sort of exception for prioritizing the Premiership versus the Champions Cup. But the Bulls got the flag for. But the point is, what's done is done, and now it's about some really, really good sides in this Challenge Cup and just how far the South African sides can go. And it's going to be a big ask if they're going to even get past this weekend. So if we look at it, this is what we've got to look forward to. And yeah, I think it's going to be a fantastic weekend of rugby. So it all starts tonight with Edinburgh versus the Lions. As a Lions fan, very nervous, to be perfectly honest. And it's not a competition I think we're really sort of going all in on. I do think that we're trying to see if we can just sneak into the URC playoffs, and that gets into the Champions Cup next season, because that's the big, draw card of the Challenge Cup, as it gets you into the Champions Cup, obviously, and it's silverware. But you look at the 2 teams being named. I mean, this is the Lions side. It's a good side. No Henk van Wyk, who continues to be made of glass and is injured once again, unfortunately. And but it's some interesting decisions. JC Pretorius, they've very much gone with an impact bench. The likes of JC Pretorius on the bench, Marius Lowe on the bench, Nico Steyn on the bench as well, because Morne van den Berg has flown over for the match itself. So that's quite exciting to see him starting. I think he's a huge part of the Lions side. Reinhard Jonker, that inside center, that's going to be a big test. So, yeah, I mean, it's a Lions side that we know if they can click, they can get a result. I genuinely think they can beat Edinburgh, but it's a very strong Edinburgh side. Pierre Schoeman comes in, Dave Cherry starting. You've got Sam Skidegron or Gilchrist, full international, lock pairing, Jamie Richard, Hamish Watson, Magnus Bradbury. It's a proper loose trio. The back line features the likes of Darcy Graham, no Duane van der Merwe, who's still injured, but Wes Goosen, for example, he brings up 50. Yeah, so it's an Edinburgh side. It's a good pack, and I think the Lions obviously will have to try and match that at scrum time and physically, for example, try and dominate that. And I think if the Lions win tonight, there'll be big games for Franco Horn. I think Ruan Fent will have to play well. I think Asenati and Klabikanya will be pivotal at scrum time, and I think that Quan Horn, for example, it's your usual suspect. It's your big sort of Springbok players in inverted commas, and that's kind of what we need to see tonight. Is the Lions, Springboks, inverted commas, or players on the Springbok radars really standing up and coming good. And if they do, there's a result that can be taken. I just think that, with the challenges of traveling the likes of that, and you've got some fantastic sides in this side. I mean, Bath, for example, I think are probably obviously your sort of leading candidates really to win the Challenge Cup. So Edinburgh, I think, will also be another one that'll be fancying their chances. Racing have had a terrible season in the top 14, but they'll be thinking maybe this is a way of getting some silverware. So looking elsewhere at the weekend, you've got Pal versus Bath tonight as well. Tomorrow you've got Avron Bayonne taking on the Bulls, and all the games are away from a South African perspective, and this is why I think it's going to be so difficult for them to get results. Montpellier versus Gloucester, USAP versus Racing, Connacht versus Cardiff, Leon versus Sharks, Ospreys versus Scarlets. So, I mean, if we look at the Bulls, for example, we haven't seen the team being named. I do expect it to be relatively strong. I do think that this could be something that the Bulls could potentially win. I do think they are favourites alongside the likes of Bath and Racing. So they'll back themselves, tomorrow. It's a 1:30 kickoff, so it's during the day. It'll be quite warm, I'd imagine, in comparison to playing, for example, Edinburgh tonight. The Bulls are under a bit of pressure, I think, to perform because they haven't really featured in the Champions Cup to the extent that I think that a lot of people would have hoped. They've featured far more than the other teams, but I think if we're being brutally honest, you look at the Sharks, you look at the Bulls, you look at the Stormers. The Bulls are far more settled, and I think that's where the expectation comes. That we kind of expect the Bulls to be a little bit more competitive, and I think they had everything they needed actually to get into the round of 16 of the Champions Cup, which they've done before, and potentially get into a quarterfinal, semi-final. We know right now we just do not have the player capacity to compete for the Champions Cup. It's the reality, and that's not going to change overnight. It's going to be a long process. But the Bulls, for example, today they announced the signing of Willie LaRue, bringing in Andre Pollard, keeping big players. That is how they build a squad good enough to be able to compete on two separate fronts. And that's the big challenge that Jake White has spoken about. The idea of trying to compete on two different fronts. And they need to have a big squad. You have to have squad depth. That's why Toulouse can do it and Leinster can do it, because you look at a second string or third string Leinster side that came last week and took the Bulls right to the end and beat the Sharks. And that's the kind of squad depth that the African sides do not have. The Sharks, they take on Leon on Sunday, 6:30 kickoff over there. And I think, that, well, 7:30, I think. Actually, I'm not sure what the South African, I think it actually is 6:30 South African time, in fairness. That is going to be a huge game, because the Sharks are desperate for success. They're not finding it as easily as they wanted. This season so far, I think they've been very inconsistent. And so I don't think a lot of people have got the expectations. But they've won this competition. And that was a huge moment. What I think is frustrating is that they haven't kicked on from there. They won this competition. They got into the Champions Cup. And I think a lot of people sat there going, right, well, here we go. They've arrived. And they didn't get into the next round of the Champions Cup. So they dropped down back to the Challenge Cup. If they were to go back-to-back, it would be a huge boost for them. And I don't think they've got what it takes to win the URC, just from a consistency point of view. This could potentially be something they could focus on. And I'll be very... Hello and welcome to Forever Sports. And we are almost ready for kickoff. But for a very interesting clash, actually. The Bulls taking on Bayonne. And I'll tell you what, be a huge scalp for the Bulls if they manage to get this result, because it's a Bayonne side, maybe not at full strength, but goodness me, are they having a good season, and currently sitting in 4th in the top 14. So a Bulls side which is also pretty good. If they could go and get a job done today, it would be very impressive. And why not? I'd love to see them have a real go here, and a couple of big players from the Bulls means that they might be able to do just that. Before we go to the teas, please do smash the like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. For your away side, the Bulls, it is Superior Matanzaba, Akfanamova, and Volko Low. Maybe not your strongest front row, and Superior Matanzaba is going to have a big game. But Reinhard Ludwig, JF Van Heerden in behind them, two young players, but two very talented. You then got Marco Verstappen, Janus Kirsten, and Marcel Kutsia in that back three. Zach Berger, partnering Keegan Johannes, Jovina Jakob, Sergio Peterson, David Williams in back three, Harold Forster, David Creel in the midfield. So it is a bit of a rotated Bulls side, as we do have kickoff with a good take that coming from the Bulls, but there's a lot of impact coming off the bench, and that I think is what's going to potentially be a big part for the Bulls, as kicking behind you, an opportunity for Bayonne to try and attack, and an early opportunity for the Tom Spring to have a go. We'll go through the rest of the line, just so we have a bit of a break here. Behind two, that's pretty poor pass, and under a little pressure here is Nadia Megud. Gets the offload away to Sheikh Tibayin. Really nice work there from JF Hen, and the Bulls have actually driven them back all the way back to past their own 10-meter area. So very good work this from the Bulls. Bayonne having to try and start again. Almost getting through though. Good carry that coming from Alex Moon. Big carry coming. That's a nice carry from Pierre Castellon. Pick up and go. And a bit of space on the right-hand side. Chip and chase coming here from Megdud. And into touch goes Jovina Jakob. So the big thing I think for Bulls is this bench as follows. Jan Hendrik Vessels, Alulu Tosakweni, Mornay Smith, Ruan Nokia, Cameron Arnicom, Ambrose Pierre, Jan Goosen, Stedman Gans. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Springboks on that bench for the Bulls. Look at the Bayonne side. It is Pierre Castellon, Tavita Tatafua as the two props. In between that is Lucas Martin, Vakeso Polignati, Alex Moon in the lock pairing. You've got Noah Traversier, Remy Bordeaux, Giovanni Habakifna being that back row. And then it's the halfback pairing is Tom Spring at fly half and Baptiste Germain in at scrum half. Zan Masks, Nadia Megdud, Sheikh Tibajin at full back. Then you've got Federico Mori and Arnaud Everton Nagari at the centres. And a bit of a wraparound here. Good carry. I think that's Federico Mori at first receiver there. Akfanamova making a good tackle here. Bayonne looking for options. Baptiste Germain goes inside. It's a huge tackle on and penalty advantage. Well, actually, knock-on advantage coming from the Bulls. Bayonne still looking to try and find a bit of space there. Another big carry. Stellan has carried well so far in the early stages. Mark Verstappen finding himself on the wrong side of the ruck, but not being penalised for the referee, getting out the way well. To the right-hand side, somebody trying to find a bit of space. Good defence this so far from the Bulls. Trying the kick ahead doesn't quite go there. It's a turnover ball here for the Bulls. I think Zach Berger was about to say he's trying to get that ball out quickly, put that little kick him over behind and chase it himself. It's a good option. And Nadir Mehdu's going to have to go back. He's very isolated though. He gets away from Zach Berger, buys himself a bit of time. Now a bit of pressure on Tom Spring, but he gets away from a couple. Phil Colo eventually holds it, but he does manage to get the offload away. Now a bit of space for Jermaine. Looking for options. And it's another knock-on. It's another big hit actually coming on. And Bayonne continue to attack onto the 10 meter of the Bulls. Pick up and go coming from Tavito Tatafu, the big tight head. Now on the right-hand side. Very lots of broken play and lining him up here. But he slips the tackle. Now space on the right-hand side. Oh, it's a huge hit. And he's set down Shavino Jacobs. Ball back inside. Really good continuity. This is Bordeaux this time. And Akafana Merva over that. He's turned over legally, says the referee. Very good work there from Akafana Merva. Very good turnover. Important turnover as well with how promising Bayonne were looking. But I'll tell you what, we've had quite a start so far. Zapberger looking to find touch. Give us a bit of an opportunity to take a deep breath and kind of collect ourselves after this start. And he will find touch, go up toward the 10 meter line. That was a really good run down the right-hand side there. And the Bulls' defense almost caught napping at a stage with a bit of space for Federico Mori. And so, oh, look at that huge hit. Completely sitting down. In fact, a bit of a speed bump, really. Shivini Yakos more than anything else. Now around the back goes Lucas Martin. Left hand side. Strong carry. Very nice carry there coming from Ibinatakure. Working hard the tackle. The Bulls defense so far holding pretty firm. That's a very nice big tackle. I'll tell you what, as I said, the Bulls' physicality has really been impressive so far. Lots of big hits here on this Bayonne side, trying to really assert their dominance here are the Bulls. Hal Forster needs to be a bit careful there and does get pinged for offside there at the moment. Yeah, I think just they kind of molted a little bit, but he was offside. Outlaw saying it's due today. Blues going to be tough on the midfield. The French is very strong. Outlaw says Gatsi, Mokia, Chris, and back. Jossi and Bulls playing left to right, or the other way, left to right in the first half. Yeah, welcome Dennis Moon, the latest subscriber on the channel, and just me as saying Shavino Yakos, take a seat. Yeah, it was a huge hit, got literally run over early. But there's some nice big hits coming out from the Bulls, really throwing their bodies around and trying to impose themselves. But unfortunately, going offside in that ruck and conceding the penalty. So they're going to take the points here, Bayonne. First opportunity for Baptiste Germain to have a go, sporting a pretty impressive moustache at the moment. He's turning quite quickly. That looks pretty good. And they do have first points on the ball. So first blood to the home side. It's a pretty full stadium as well. Good to see. The team actually playing in their green kit today, the alternative kit. So lots of the fans in the usual sort of sky blue. But a bit of a Leicester Tigers kind of vibe to the away kit with a sponsor in every single flipping... I mean, he's actually barely see the green with all the sponsors, to be honest. Right, 3-0 at Stade Jeanine de Gire. It's a fantastic clearance. That's a really, really good clearance. I think that was Tom Spring who's walloped it to the left-hand side and fine touch on the halfway line. That's a really, really good clearance. And he'll chip in behind you for the Bulls. Trevino Jacobs trying to put pressure on. Tom Spring is a bit too much better tackle that time from Trevino Jacobs. And a bit of pressure coming from the Bulls, but Bayonne do rally around and give themselves options. Solid carry they're coming from Noah Trevissier. And under a lot of pressure, Baptiste Germain will look to find a decent touch fighter. Not find a lot of distance, actually, so it'll be a good opportunity now for the Bulls. I'll have a line just outside the 22. Yeah, it was the right option earlier on there. Trevino Jacobs to go to the boot. I'm not behind. Unfortunately, it appears our data partner is behind. So just trying to find out what's going on with the scoreboard. It should be updating soon. We had this issue last night. As you can see, that the time is up on. So yeah, that will catch up eventually. Sometimes it takes a while for the time to go, but it is currently 3-0. I'll try to update it manually in a bit. Looks like there's a couple of issues across the board, actually. Anyway, the Bulls are building from that line by the 22, and Marcel Coetzee just twisting in the tackle, playing the number 8 today is Marcel Coetzee. David Creel fighting in the tackle. Right, there is the correct score as Keegan Johannes goes to make a terrible pass, and Akvan and Merva fighting hard in the tackle, and not much advantage there. So they're going to go back for the penalty here for the Bulls. And offside is the call. 10 meters out, now opportunity now. Decision time. Go for the corner would probably be the best bet, and my guess. And welcome Dennis Moreira, who's the latest member of the Forever Fans Sport, the club. So yeah, welcome to he's the latest Forever fan. Appreciate you guys. Right, 5-minute line check for the Bulls as we hit the 10-minute mark. Go to the front of the lines. Good take that from Ludwig, but the referee, there's a ball being thrown around there. I'm not quite entirely sure what the issue is. Let's have a reset, yeah. Lots of confetti still on the field from when they ran on earlier. And they've gone up and they've competed for that at Bayonne, and it's a knock-on advantage from the Bulls, which means it's going to be a scrum. Yeah, not a great. It's a shame for them as well because they initially the first time they had taken was good, and then they had to retake it, and then Bayonne then basically gets the call, managed to get up at a half touch, and Jay Van Heerden trying to get across to take it, just couldn't. Goes forward of him, and we'll have the first scrum of the day. Actually, interesting to see how this goes. Volcolo, I think, will be backing himself to have a go here. But I think Tapio Matanzima is going to have to really step up at scrum time if they're going to be competitive when it comes to the scrums. And if you can... Right, here we go. Volcolo is doing a job, but they do use it to be on the left-hand side. Looking to try and run it. Keegan Johannes gets up there, but the inside ball, and it's forward. That's really, really good. Keegan Johannes had to make a good tackle there, and just as it was starting to get through, Bordeaux just threw probably a pass that wasn't really there, and it's drifted forward. So now all of a sudden the Bulls will have an attacking scrum inside the 22, and promising signs at that hit for Volcolo. Yeah, it's Volker having a conversation with the referee. I think he's backing himself to try and go straight through the man. That's a big hit from the Bulls. And then we have a reset. Good to see Hans Kirsten back and playing for the Bulls, actually. He hasn't played a lot since making his move. It's found game time difficult to find. It's such a difficult Bulls back three to get. But plenty of experiences with Hans Kirsten these days. 31 years old these days. And to play just 240 minutes so far for the Bulls this season. Last season, didn't play at all, really. And obviously, this is making his move from Exeter Chiefs, where he played many games. He went over, I think, about 90-20 from the Bulls. And this is actually his it's his second European game of the season. Played 7 so far, started 4 out of 7, majority in the number 7. Good scrum, that huge scrum there. Wilco Low has got the scrum penalty. Strange of angle here. Long pass out wide, straight into the hands of the Bayonne wing. But we're going to go back for the penalty, and that is Wilco Low. That's what I said. I said it looks like Wilco is got the better of Castellon. And if they can continue to exploit that, that becomes a huge way into this game. Yeah, I know. You can just see the front row there popping up from behind. And they're going to take the points here. In fact, Keegan Johannes is going to knock this over. Does knock this over, and he'll level the scores. And it's a big victory from the Bulls, not just from a score point of view, but momentum and confidence now. They'll be really backing themselves after that scrum. Jake White, there's his classic faded cap and 400 water bottles. Watching on. Pretty emotionless at the moment. Sure that'll change later. They go short and pretty contestable. It's a very good take that from Harold Forster. Quick ball now. Just being Matanzima. Exciting ball carrier. Quite a dynamic ball carrier. He's got quite good feet for Lucid. And that's a nice line being run by Janus Kirsten. Just on the shoulder, and he gets a good 10 meters odd. To the right-hand side of Johannes. Harold Forster has to fetch it behind him, but takes it in well. David Creel there to back him up. Quick ball needed for Zach Berger. He's falling over the Bayern player, trying to win that penalty, but saying no. There is another Bayern player who's down and injured. And he was having a look there with Zach Berger, potentially kicking him behind. Wilco Low. He always makes a few meters, especially when you've got Marcel Katsia behind you. Now to the right-hand side. Ludwig. Sniping looks. Now Johannes inside ball. Forster, and that's a really good line being run by Devin Williams. Oh, the switch to Sergio Peterson is gorgeous, and they're over. Well, I tell you what, that is how you score a try. The flair involved in that. The little round-the-back pass from Devin Williams was scrumptious. And I tell you what, that is very good rugby. The line being run by Devin Williams. You talk about running intent. And the ball back inside, kicking your hand. It's a bit of a set move, actually, really. And the gap through from Devin Williams, and the round-the-back pass was perfect. Absolutely perfect. That is a serious try by the Bulls. Keegan Johannes just drifting in, pops the pass to Harold Forster, who throws it immediately back inside to the oncoming Devin Williams. He pierces straight through the gap, round the back pass then to Sergio Peterson, who come inside and add support. He rounds it. Bulls get the first try of the game. Keegan Johannes to try and add the extra 2. But that will be a huge confidence booster for the Bulls. Oh, he's fired that wide. That's really poor, actually, to be honest, from Keegan Johannes. Can't be missing those. Yeah, round the back pass is so good. Devin Williams, what a player. What a player. Taken a while for him to sort of get himself up to a main franchise and get opportunities, but that was and since he's been to the Bulls, I think he's been absolutely terrific. Right, 8 points to 3. Just be saying, play with my tons in my back in primary. Queen College has always been a solid scrummager. I called him Beast at the time. Well, fair enough. I really love watching him with ball in hand. I think he's got such good feet. And when you're that size, it's a useful and a deceptive turn of pace as well. Right, so Bayonne now with ball in hand. Trying to go under the tackle of Janus Kirsten unsuccessfully. Keep it within the forwards here. It's a good carry that come from Bordeaux. Now kicking behind. And a bit of space as well. This is going to pop up nicely. Devin Williams is there, but he loses it forward. And then pops it. And then, in fact, actually, it was Keaton Johannes who lost it forward. Then Devin Williams is running out. So it is a line out for Bayonne inside the 22. Looking to try and take it quickly, but now they're going to wait for the rest of the players to arrive. Probably the safer option. They go short though, Dubai. And Akvan Merva tackles his opposite man into touch. You don't back yourself up against Akvan Merva. Lucas Martin, I mean, I like the confidence. But the ball back inside, and there was no sort of set move. It was literally basically like a you versus me situation. And Akvan Merva, yeah, he's not. I don't think he loses too many of those. So ball's even a 22-year-old Frenchman, but yeah, very clearly out muscled there. Back, he managed to get the ball. And ball at the top though from the Bulls. And Markov is starting runs into Lucas Martin. Quickly taken, caught everybody off guard, including the cameraman. And now Zach Berger looks to find touch. He will find touch. Looks like a pretty good touch finder, actually. It's a very, very good touch finder up towards the 10-meter line. That's perfect exiting from the Bulls. That is how you build momentum. You score a try. You're then under a little bit of pressure, but you manage to just safely calm things down. Then you manage to exit well, and now all of a sudden you're back to 10-meter line and very happy to play rugby, yeah. You kind of look at this Bulls team and think this is probably this South African last opportunity, last chance, last hopes. You know, the Lions went out last night, just not enough. To be perfectly honest, I think that's the best way to describe it. I mean, didn't get absolutely caned by Edinburgh. They were in it, but just don't have enough quality at the end of the day. So yeah, frustrating. And the Sharks are named a very, very young side later. In fact, it's comically young. Bit of a pause there. Kick over the top. And Shavina Jacobs almost made a bit. In fact, Devin Williams. And he puts the kick in there behind. That's a really intelligent kick as well. Keeping it right up towards the touchline. And it's just rolled out just before the 22. So that's really good work from Devin Williams. Very good territorial gain here from the Bulls. And very tactical coming from them. So, yeah, I don't expect to see the Sharks come good. Bath hammering power last night. 49 points to 24. We've got Montpellier versus Gloucester today at 6:30. The Sharks playing tomorrow. You're not sure I back them, to be honest. Not sure I back them. Good line there from Bordeaux. Not Bordeaux, Bayonne. Well, Bordeaux down. Bordeaux 4 yet Bayonne, in fairness. As Tessa Junior Yarkis has gotten it wrong, but thankfully it's come off of McDo into touch, so it'll be a Bulls line out. Junior Yarkis getting that very, very wrong. Yeah, and he actually just pulled out of it eventually because he was just absolutely nowhere near it. I mean, he'll say it was intentional and it was a genius move. Not entirely sure that was really the case. One of the many Bulls wings, who I just think haven't quite lived up to the hope as Junior, because the Rocket Man, as they call him. And breaking play as an injury. I think that looks like it's because of Polignati. It's down receiving treatment. It is for Bayonne. So an opportunity for the Bulls just regather and Moscotia can bark out a few instructions. So far, so good, though, from the Bulls. They're holding firm. Just on 22. Let's flip from them over, watching on. Good to see the big man still supporting the boys in blue. Played many a game for the Bulls before going over and played for Clermont. Played a very similar amount of games actually for both of them. Retired back in 2019, relatively early actually. I mean, he's not yet 40. So he retired about 6 years ago. So he would have been about 33 at the time. Researcher at the scrum. Yeah, just putting out there. Yeah, I think Vilko is going to take a bit of exception there. So at the moment, Pierre Castillon is not coping at all. The young prop up against Vilko. I mean, it's a huge ask to be fair. 21 years old prop. This is his first start of his career. And you're starting up against Vilko Low. He's made a couple of cameos off the bench so far this season, but has played a total of 131 minutes before today. So not a lot of experience, and you're up against arguably one of the best scrummaging tight heads in the world. Penalty advantage once again. Vilcolo's having an absolute field day. Keegan Johannes skip pass to David Creel. David Creel looks to try and straighten. Not sure it's the right option. He gets his hands free though. Gives it away to Harold Forster. Harold Forster looking for options. Harold Forster goes through. Harold Forster, good leg drive. Zach Berger short. Ludwig arriving. Looked a bit of a high tackle there. Nothing came from the referee. Markov starting at first receiver. Drawing a couple of defenders, but they managed to hold him up. But Marcel Garcia rips it. He gets the ball back inside. Yes, Kirsten, he's behind. Actually, no, he doesn't. He takes it very well. And Vilcolo literally just falls over a player. And Bulls will be able to scramble a little bit. Malcolm starting once again. In fact, I think it was actually JF and Hearden that time. David Creel, it's a good tackle on him. Gets the offload away to, this is JF and Hearden. Ludwig. Right. He has go short. Now goes to the butcher, does Keegan Johannes, and giving chase there, Junior Jakobs is far too far, and they will mark it very, very easily. That's pretty poor, actually. Not sure it's the right option at all. There's a bit of a cut there, so might have actually a bad blood bin here for Bayonne, but as they clear down the park, but still inside their own half. I think Bulls are doing very well to manage the territory. Just having a look at the scrum, I mean, look at the size of the thighs of the Vilco Low there, and just so strong. And then he gets underneath, yeah. I mean, it's, to be fair, Spiro Matanza was doing a job on the other side as well. So, yeah, this young Bayonne front row is struggling, and I mean, it's difficult. You know, there's only sort of so many different things you can do. At the end of the day, they need Tafiq Tatafu to stand up. You know, they really need him to come good. He's 29 years old. Very interesting player because he was born in Samoa, plays internationally for Japan. Obviously plays in France. So we've got a Samoan Japanese player playing in the top 14. And I think he needs to really step up. That's flat, the pass there from Srino Jacobs. And David Williams goes into it. But right against the touchline, I think he'll get bundled out. He will get bundled out. Not sure it's the right option to go with a skip pass right again. Back with David Creel actually find himself on the wing. Marco Verstappen down and receiving a bit of treatment. Doesn't look like anything too serious, so it should be okay to continue, I'd imagine. Cameron Hanekom on the bench. I think it'll be a big impact coming from that Bulls bench a bit later. So far, 26 minutes in. I'll tell you what, Bulls looking pretty comfortable at the moment. Bayonne not completely outplayed. I mean, there's only 5 points in it. But Bulls very much seem to be winning the territorial battle. Playing in the right areas. Christopher Devet says, about time SAT inroads in the European Cups. Well, in fairness, we did win it last season. Well, the Sharks won it, but an SAT won it. But yeah, I think the Bulls, I think this is a competition they could win, actually, if they want to take it seriously. Sharks have more or less forfeited their game last year. It's an incredibly young side that they've named later. Well, sorry, not later, tomorrow. Against Lyon. And the Lions exited last night. That's a very good take. And he gets to do a couple of tackles, but eventually gets bottom. But he gets the offload away. That's also looked a bit of a high tackle. Zach Berger tries to chip it himself. Missed a bit of a late tackle. And Janus Kirsten has led the solitary charge. But I tell you what, there's a lot of space on this right-hand side for Bayonne. If they want to attack into it, now they kick ahead. It's a big boot. I tell you what, that needs to stop. But it's going to slow up slightly. Devin Williams is outside the try line. And you go to that left boot of his heel. Find a good clearance. Right, then we ended up with a line on the 10-meter line, yeah, inside Bulls territory. There's going to be a change there. I'll be able to get him off. And we've had far too many issues with the blood from Vekosi Poloniati, so he's going to give way. So Dennis Marchois will come on. Now we're a conference between the Bayonne players about what's going to happen at the line-out. Come, Mr. Ref, we've got to hurry this up a little bit. We've already had half an hour since kickoff. And another replacement here for Bayonne as well. Aurelian Calendrier is coming on. I'm not entirely sure for who. We'll have to confirm that. Nice player to be able to bring on. Plenty of experience for him. And it's good hands. Big tackle coming on off the screen there from David Creel. Kicking behind coming from Bayonne. It's going to run out as well. Very, very well worked. They'll force Bulls to have a 10-meter line out. Well, I'll tell you what. Tibigan is still on. So I think it's Nadia Mekhdud who's gone off. I was very intelligent that Tom Spring was being lined up. I just had a bit of a tap pass there. Good work that from him. And another Bayonne player down. They're falling like flies here at the moment. They've just had 2 subs. Got another player down. The horse mascot's doing the rounds. Man, let's start drafting him in at this rate. It's a good line like that from the Bulls. And Zach Berger needs to find a good clearance. Or will he actually look for potentially maybe one more phase? Baptiste Chemain getting frustrated, saying the referee needs to tell him to use it. Up against touchline though. First touch that's coming from Calendrier. Now, solo carry that coming from Remy Bourdieu. The left-hand side. Spring looking for options. Spring goes himself. Good tackle coming from Wilco Low. Big tackle that. I think it's Peter Tanzima throwing his body weight around. So Peterson comes back inside Devin Williams up against Jean Mosques. But they actually lost the ball forward, Jay Barnes. So turnover ball here for the Bulls. And Matanzima is there. Now Devin Williams. So Keegan Johannes will look to clear. Enjoying his time, I think, in the number 10 jerseys. Keegan Johannes probably just enjoying the the game time. But being back to the fly half and then starting this is interesting. You got Jan Koos coming off the bench later. That'll be a huge boost to Jake White. He's desperate for. I'll tell you what, Akava the Mervers just put in a kick and chase. Not a bad kick either. And keeping it nice and low there. It's to be right into the hands of Devin Williams. Long pass back inside. No, it's Keegan Johannes to Devin Williams. Now, what can Devin Williams conjure? He goes out to Steven Yarkos. Yarkos steps back inside, then straightens. Bulls on the front foot here. And conceding a penalty. It's really, really well done by Federico Mori. He got over that ball very quickly. I wondered if he was going to be told to let it go, because it didn't look like at one stage he was supporting his body weight, but it never came. So it's a really, really good steal that from the Italian international. And they're trying to catch him a bit of guard, and they have. They've gone down the left-hand side to try to see if they can... I don't know if they're actually... It's a bit of a cross-kick kind of vibe. I think just putting it into the space, really. And it will roll into touch inside the 22. It's a good idea. I tell you what, Akvan Merva had... He had a bit of a sprint off there between himself and Jean Musquez. And another substitution. That's the fourth sub at the moment. So I think that's Arno Urban Tagare. He's gone off. And Baptiste Telua has come on. That is, if I'm not mistaken, at least 3 subs so far in the first half for Bayonne. That's a bit of a disaster. And it's not like they're being like Kane. It's not like he's a tactical substitution. These are injuries. And Baptiste has just come on. He's a scrum off. Is 18 years old, by the way, in case you want to know. Not his first game of the season. He came off the bench against Black Lion. But apart from this, he's just been playing in the French under-20s in the Six Nations for the past few months. Starting scrum off there, so very much a very talented player. And early signs. Tell you what, this delivery looks pretty crisp. But Bayonne now looking for options, not managing to find too much space. But now a couple of meters there being won by Noah Treversier. Good carry that coming from Berdier. Back on the angle. Alex Moon now. Oh, long pass out wide. There's a lot of space in front. Can somebody get across to the car? They can't. Where was the wing? Federico Mori, the Italian, is over. I mean, it was a long pass to the left-hand side, and there was just nobody ahead of him. Like, absolutely no one. And Keegan Johannes desperately tried to get across, but I mean, Keegan Johannes versus the size of Federico Mori, it's a tough ask. And he can't stop. But I just don't understand, where was the wing? Where is Sergio Peterson? And unfortunately, it's the initial big carry was from Keegan Johannes. And then now, yeah, pull by the top. And then Baptiste Germain, and I tell you, Keegan Johannes needs to actually put his foot down a bit sooner rather. He gave him the eyes basically, and kind of didn't. He sort of stopped up to Keegan Johannes, and that's what allowed Federico Mori that half second to get over. So not the best defensive showing there from Keegan Johannes. Good try that from Bayonne. They do level scores with Baptiste Germain looking to make it 2-point lead, but he will pull to the left, so it'll remain at 8 points apiece. Baptiste now playing in at, I think it looks like Baptiste Germain's gone to fly half. I imagine that means that Tom Spring has gone to center, maybe? I mean, it's a bit of a problem when you're Bayonne and you go and you name a 6-2 split and you get a backline injury in the 27th minute and a backline injury in the 30th minute. This is where suddenly it goes very wrong. That's why I'm trying to work out where they've potentially changed people in positions. But it looks like Baptiste Germain's gone to fly half. Huge opportunities for the Bulls, though. And don't find touch from the kickoff, and Devin Williams now will be able to kick this further downfield. He's looking for a long touch finder, and he finds touch well inside by Ontario. It's a very good kick there from Devin Williams. Right, Lucas Martin to feed the line out. Just over 5 minutes left on the clock. And eventually go to the front. And it's the big man in this. I'd say it's a nice big carry coming from Giovanni Havelkufner. Now Jermaine, who is a fly half, puts it in the air. Srini Yakovs goes back and looks to position himself. But Devin Williams actually goes back and he knocks it forward. Bayonne win it back. And they lost a lot of territory, but they got possession. Now they're looking for that cross kick. Swirling a little bit in the wind. I tell you what, it was almost brilliant. It was almost inch perfect for Jean Mosquez. Like half a meter, and I think he would have ran that in, actually. You can see them making the call for it. The right option as well. And it is Tom Springer. I think he's operating at fullback now. Oh, I tell you, it's not far away at all. A meter inside, and I think Bayonne would have scored try number 2 for them in the last few minutes. But it was out in the full, so it goes back to a line on the halfway line. Akafinamerva will feed. Oh, jeepers, Akafinamerva just ran over Jermaine. And here he goes once again. Jermaine's back in the angle, but stops as the referee. I think it was a knock-on or accidental obstruction as the call. So it's going to be a Bulls scrum, which they'll take, actually, because that's an opportunity for them to get a penalty kick to the corner, maybe score another try. Yeah, runs into the referee, preventing the tackle from being made. That's why there was a bit of space for the pick up and go. So they'll go back for the scrum. Couple of the Bayonne players who are not featuring on the side there. Right, so we've got 3.5 minutes left. And all scores are level over in France. I will say you could do it Bulls. The Bulls bench looks strong. It's very, very strong. I think that could very well be the difference a bit later, to be honest. I think that they've got a lot to come off the bench. They've gone with a standard 5-3 split, but Ambrose appeared to come on later. Jan Goosen to come on later. Cameron Honecker, Muro Nokia. He does a very nice impact. They go straight down. Penalty advantage for the Bulls. That goes to the left hand side, straight to Keegan Johannes. Keegan Johannes has got lots of options. He goes short to his little piece of burst straight through, almost gets through. Pops it up to Zach Berger, back to the right hand side. Back of a Star Wars corner. He goes short to Marcel Garcia. It's a huge hit. But Marcel Garcia bounced off and he's still going as Marcel Garcia. Ball spills out to the left hand side. Ludwig does well. Oh, I'll tell you what, the little chip attempt from Cyril Peterson doesn't quite come off. And they're going to go all the way back for the scrum penalty after they deal with another injury for Bayonne. I'll tell you what, this looks a bit worrying because Baptiste Germain's gone down. He's clutching his neck and you don't want to stuff around with that because it can often be back injuries and the likes of that. And he's not happy at all as Baptiste Germain. I'm not sure they're going to have a look at this over yet. Sergio Peterson's arm was a bit high, and the referee, I think, says no. Yeah, I don't think it was anything too much. He didn't lead with the elbow. Basically, as he went into contact, his elbow sort of slipped up, and I think, oh, hang on, the score hasn't changed, you idiot. Well, in fairness, we're supposed to. It's working. We can get back to the auto score. There we go. There we go. Things you love to see. Things you love to see. So he is back up to his feet as Baptiste Germain. Nothing further from the referee. Would hate to think that maybe he's trying to milk it to try and get a penalty. Not going to suggest that, but I think we got... so he's back on, eh? He's just gone off here as Calendre, but now he's gone back on. I'm a bit confused to what's going on here. I think McDood was coming back on, but now just seeing Calendre... I'm very confused to what's going on here with the subs. McDood got pulled earlier. It looked like he was coming back, but yet we're still seeing Aurelien Calendre running around. So I'm a bit confused to what's going on from a subs point of view. In theory, he's supposed to be off. But he very clearly was number 20. Oh, but unless in fairness, unless Nadia McDood is on with a change of jersey, which was of blood, would make sense. Chris, it looks like uncontested scrum in the second half. No, not at this stage. I mean, they've only lost one forward in Polignati. So the injuries are becoming in the back line, which is a disaster because they've gone with a 6-2 split. Zach Berger now, sniping, looking for options. Bit of a messy line out there, but the ball is available for Sergio Peterson to the left-hand side of Marcel Coetzee. Coetzee running hard at the tackle. Good work that for Marcel. Showing going. Reynald Ludwig's got a bit of space. Has he got the pace? You bet he's got the pace. Well, something out of nothing. It's awful defending for Bayonne. But the Bulls are over. And Reynard Ludwig, I tell you what, Zach Berger, the last few minutes, all of a sudden come alive a little bit. A couple of snipes, and over there again, it's just sort of squaring up the defense. And then as he's coming around the shoulder here, Ludwig just holds up to Zach Berger, gets between one. That creates the gap. And then Ludwig has got a bit of a run-in to do, and he does. He's got a bit of pace there. Right, kick come here from Keegan Johannes. We will have a kick-off, though. 30 seconds left on the clock. Yeah, that's much better from him. Much better strike throughout. So, the conversion is good. 15 points to 8. Bulls back in the lead. And I think this will basically be a restart. And the Bulls will round it down and just go into half-time with a bit of momentum. It's a very, very good half from the Bulls, though. Very polished. A very good tries, actually, being scored. And they go short, Joe Dubai. Is it going to go 10 meters? No, it hasn't. But they have gone for the Bulls, and it's gone out. And that should be the half. We might guess. Yeah, there's halftime. Right, halftime. 50 points to 8. We'll see you guys very shortly for the second half. Don't go away. Smash like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in a few. All right, hello everybody, and welcome back to Favorite Sports Parties for that. Yeah, I got my time a little bit wrong, and suddenly we realized that we were 3 minutes in. I was, you know what the sad thing is? I was actually even like, I was even saw it in the corner. I was like, oh yeah, oh hang on, they're back. So apologies, but we haven't missed anything. It is 15 points to 8, and yeah, it's been an interesting game for the Bulls, because Bayonne have got lots of injuries to try and contend with, and I'm trying to work out if people have officially come back on, changed jerseys, and the whole spiel, because there have been lots of different changes. So Bayonne have got 4 players off the bench already on, and they've lost Federico Mori, who's come off at half time, by the way. They've lost Arnold Ubertagere, and they've lost Nadir Mekud, who in theory came back on. But yeah, so they've got a brand new centre pairing. Tom Springs, I think, is playing in the centres. Baptiste Shumain is at scrum half. Oh, sorry, is at flower half. And the youngster, Baptiste Toulouse, is at scrum half, the 18-year-old, and that kid's charged down. What is up with French scrum halves all being named Baptiste? Like, it's getting a bit ridiculous. And I'll tell you who's on here is this man over here, Hendrik Vessels, who's got a bit of space. Gets the offload away as well. It's really good skills. And I'll tell you what, it's still going to David Creel. David Creel, ball back inside. No, David Creel's going all the way to the corner. That might be one of the weirdest tries I've ever seen. That was bizarre. There's a kick in behind, which actually took a deflection, took another deflection, and then eventually popped up. And how that has suddenly just popped into the hands of David Creel, who also kind of looked around, almost couldn't believe it. It's a great run, this by Yannick Vessels. It takes the tackle, gets the chicken wing pass out. Chavino Yarka's kick goes back into the player, back into him, back in front of him. And then he basically pops it up to Creel, and Creel looks up, and there's basically nobody ahead of him. The bounce of the rugby ball. Yeah, a bit of a dummy there as well. Looking for the interception was the Bayonne defender, and didn't quite get there. So the Bulls are over again. And that could be the big turning point in the game in terms of the Bulls really taking charge of it, because that's now a 12-point lead kick to come from Keegan Johannes. And with all the injuries, I don't really see how Bayonne managed to rally to come back. I'll be very surprised if they manage that. So huge moment in the game. Hopefully that means that we're going to have at least one South African side into the EPCR Challenge Cup quarterfinals. And I think it's actually coming in. It's a brilliant kick that from Keegan Johannes. That's top work from him. Ooh. This is controversial. That should not have been a try. His foot is inside the play when he initially kicks it, but when it comes back off him, his left foot looks like it's out. That should not have stood. Controversial. And Nokia gets that wrong. And it's gonna actually go show. Cameron Hanekom onto the park as well. Right, so that's a big moment in the game, because that's a mistake. That should not have counted. And the Bulls are complaining, and it was a great kick from Keegan Johannes. So that's 7 bonus points really from the game, because unfortunately, yeah, if you looked at that properly, that should never have actually been awarded. They didn't even really actually have a look, to be honest. They didn't actually think that wasn't even an option to potentially not to have been out. Good line that from Bayonne. And a penalty coming from them as well. Cameron Hanekom being pinged on the number 20 jersey. Looking to the ways on the right-hand side, yeah. And it's been held up just short. Is it a penalty advantage? It is a penalty advantage for collapsing the maul, and Cameron Holmes got his hands on the ball, so that's going to be another penalty here. I think someone's lost their shirt. Yes, Akvanamova is walking around in just a sports bra. Like, quite literally, because he's wearing one of those trackers, the catapult tracker. So he's going to have a bit of a fix his wardrobe as Bayonne just pop it out. And that's another player. I'll tell you what. Is he back on, actually? Polignati is back on, and he's looking very good. He just needs to go off, to be honest. I mean, he's been on and off the entire day. And he's not looking happy at all. Just make the sub, guys. Make the sub. Looking for the more here, Bayonne. And that's looking really more. It's all kind of breaking apart. And eventually just short. Really good defense, actually, in the end from the Bulls. Pick up and go, though. The referee's been taken out. He's back on his feet. And they're just short. Now they're calling for the right-hand side. Ball pops up once again. I think that should go over. They are over. That's poor defense in the end from the Bulls. Far too easy, must be said. Big try to score again. And I tell you what, that's even more frustrating for them, given the fact that the Bulls one should not have counted. That could have actually been them almost leveling up. And instead, they will still trail by, at this stage, 9 points. Kick to come. And a kick to come at the moment. Thinking, well, I'll tell you, letting an entire shot clock run up. Bit of a smile there on the Bayonne coach's face there. So we're keeping themselves in the game. I think that's all you can really do, is just keep yourself in it for as long as possible and see what happens. But now the Bulls need to try and, I think, offload this bench to good effect. Going deep there was King. That's a beautiful day, by the way, from the looks of it over there. And I say that because it's absolutely miserable. That's tackle without the man in the air. That's getting his timing wrong. And they're having words there with Cameron Harnicombe, who doesn't seem to worry too much. He's just going to have a walk away there. A couple of other guys are getting involved. Cameron Harnicombe's going to go back to the halfway line. He's over it. He's saying, no, you guys sort yourself out. I'm just going to just go and chill. Right, a bit of a breaking play now. Eventually, everybody's calmed down, and they're going to kick toward the corner. Here is Tom Spring. But they don't find touch. That's a bit of a let-off there for the Bulls. An inside ball. That's a really good. And Devin Williams, and they're going to get hands here for David Creel. Thought about putting in the passing, put it into the boot. Jordan Peterson's right there. It's lost behind. That's gone off. I think that might be carried over. Could be a 5-meter scrum from the looks of it. If not, I'd imagine, yeah, it is going to be a 5-meter scrum. Knock on, I think, was the core. This was really good work. David Creel thought about the pass, then put it onto the boot. Came off a Bayonne player. And then knocked backwards and then knocked into touch. This should be a 5-meter scrum. That would be my guess. So there's a knock on, yeah, we're 5 meter scrum. Far right hand side of the field. If you wanted to have a scrum, this is more or less where you either want this or right by the poles, where you got both sides to work with. But now you've got the full width of the field to work with. Can't really go the blind side. But yeah, the main thing is you've got Jan Vessels, by the way, he's backing down a loose head and doesn't come on that hooker. You have a reset there. So reset scrum, yeah, 51 minutes to go so far. Landila's saying, make sure Bulls, we need to win. Yeah, I think a scrum, I mean, we'll get there in the end. A try here would be a big boost. And a penalty, full on penalty now for the Bulls. And yeah, it's a double whistle blow. There could be a car coming here, or at least very much a final warning, I think, for this front row. And you got to give it to them. Unfortunately, they're conceding far too many penalties. Around the Bulls, I'm asking for another one. I think they have actually asked for another scrum. Yeah, this is a big moment. I think. You get Bulls score here. Right, good scrum there. Came on, breaks on the left hand side. I'm a bit confused. I assume the whistle's gone. Nobody was really playing there. It was a bit odd about what was going on. Right, we have another reset here. Bulls all over Bayonne at the moment. Big scrum that came from the Bulls once again. Surely penalty advantage coming. Nope, nothing there. It was a big counter scrum actually coming from Bayonne, but ball available for the Bulls with no penalty advantage. Pick up and go here now. Ruan Nokia. Wilco Lowe's having words with one of the players over there on the side. Eventually, we'll go back and join the Bulls side. And then Vest to pick up and go. Bulls 5 meters out. Running around the corner there was Jeff and Hien. Not the best pass, but Devin Williams deals with it well. A little bit isolated, though, so a couple of players need to try and scramble to assist. They do ball available for Zach Berger. Pops it up to Akvan and Merva. Not much attacking shape at the moment for the Bulls. And Hendrik Vessels. Solid work there from him. Van Heerden, good work. Keegan Johannes. It's a huge hit on him. And they lost a bit of momentum in the Bulls. Big counter coming in now for Bayonne as well. Bulls need to try and get this out. I think they've lost it. That's really, really poor. That was a golden opportunity for them to score, and they've lost the ball, and they're going to be able to actually run it out from their own 22, says Bayonne. Draw and pass. And it's a good, well, it's a high tackle, yeah. This could be trouble city here for Akafanamurva. Yeah, yellow card. I think that's more, I think that's more for the fact that he was the last defender rather than the high tackle itself, actually. But Bulls down to 14 men, and how things quickly change. Things change. I mean, if they scored there, for example, that could have been, you know, an extra 7 points up. For example, could have gone to 14 points up and now you are not only 7 points up, but also more to the point you're a man down. So not ideal. All right, so Akafanamurva into the bin. Good news from a Bulls perspective, though, is that when it comes to the next scrum and they have to make a substitution, they can bring on Alutus Queenie and Yannick Vessels can just swap into hooker there. And then speaking of replacement front row, so Martin Villa is on. So he will replace Pierre Castillon, who's struggled, to be honest, a struggle. And fair enough against Vilcolo. And not much more experience. The 22 Argentine has just come on to replace him. So very young props at the moment for Bayonne, and they're struggling in that position. Yeah, it's not a bad kick towards the touch. There's a behind touch inside the 22. And here comes the change. So Mornay Smith on for Vilcolo, and Markovic Staden seems to be back on. Bit confused about that one. Good line there from Bayonne there on the 22 meters. Working hard, but not making much progress. In fact, the Bulls trying to push them towards the touchline. They pick up and go. And almost breaks through the tackle of Markovic Staden and Zach Berger. Big tackle that coming from Marcel Garcia. Much better there from the Bulls. Pick up and go from Bourdieu. Needs options here, does Baptiste. Pick up and go. Solid work there. Actually, that's the replacement title. That's Peter Scholz who's on. Played his rugby for the Lions, I think it was, when he was down here. I want to say, amongst a couple other teams. Peter Scholz, South African in the stretch, in the top 14 side, yeah. Into 22 they go. Yeah, it was the Lions, and then went to the Pumas, then went to the Kings, went to the Scarlets, went to the Wasps, didn't actually play the Wasps, and now he's at Bayonne. Bit of a journeyman, is 31-year-old. Cheap as he's played for a lot of teams for his age. But one of those players he's kind of looked 31 for about 10 years because he's not got the best hairline. Either way, the Bayonne have managed to work their way all the way down the right-hand side. Coming up strongly there is Baptiste Cheveneux. Only 2 players remaining on the bench for Bayonne. Actually, only 1 player, and they've just knocked it on. So it'll be a scrum for the Bulls, which means they'll have to bring on Alaluto Zakwini. Yeah, it was a nice bit of hands, and as he comes in, just I think loses it forward in the tackle. That was completely, and then rips it out of the tackle, and that's where the referee's saying it's knock on. I think it's a bit harsh actually. I think it's ripped out actually of the hands. Not convinced it's actually a knock on. So I think we have managed to bring on Aluta Tsukwini. So it'll be actually interesting to see if Akvanamova does come back on. My guess is he probably will, but this is the replacement front row. We've just seen a late adjustment from the back row. Not entirely sure what that was all about. But looks like Harold Forster's packing down on the left-hand side. Looks like Marcel Garcia's packing down at 8th man. Cameron Harnicorn is not even in the scrum. Very, very confused. Harold Forster's packing down on the left-hand side, which makes no sense. So is Cameron Harnicorn sitting in the centres as a first receiver? They've now got Janus Kirsten on the other side. I don't know if it's just a mind games thing. It's very strange. But Janus Kirsten is now packing down the left-hand side. Marcel Garcia is still in 8th man, and Harold Forster is packing down the right-hand side. You've got Sturgill Peterson behind the scrum. I want to see where, to have a look at our centres. I assume that's where Cameron Harnicorn must be sitting at. It's a big scrum they're coming from Bayonne. They need to use this two bulls. And they go to the right-hand side, and Devin Williams is there. Is he injured or something? I'm confused. Oh, is he sacrificed? Oh, he was sacrificed. That's what I'm being dumb. So he was sacrificed. That's an interesting person to sacrifice for bringing on Alex Tsukwini. They try to go with the boot though, and Devin Williams has not kicked it ahead. It's just going to run out. But why would you sacrifice the players who just come on? Surely you'd give a breather to Janus Kirsten or Marcel Garcia. To bring up Cameron Harnicorn seems like a very strange decision. We've seen it so often, by the way. People try and put the grubbers in and the defender in front of them being aware enough to basically just get themselves in the way and try and actually kick it back ahead. I've got a couple of issues at the moment in my studio, so I'll be back very, very shortly, just trying to sort a few things out. But just give me 2 seconds. Right, anyway, sorry about that. We had some camera issues, and yeah, it just wasn't working. But we are back, as you can see. And unfortunately, there was a try. Well, fortunately, I suppose, if you're a Bulls fan. Malcolm Verstappen has crashed over right by the poles as well a few minutes ago. And big moment to score. Jan Goosen onto the park, and he converts as well. So Bulls now 21 points to 15. Looking very comfortable going into the final 10 minutes. And bar what will be a pretty impressive comeback from Bayonne, I think we will see a South African side into the quarterfinals of the Challenge Cup, and it's been a pretty good performance so far from the Bulls, especially to go over there to France and to do this, where it's not an easy place to go and play. So it's gonna be very interesting to see how it all goes in the final 10, but more importantly, how it's going to go in the competition itself, because I mean, as much as Jake White talks about the fact they can't win the Champions Cup, Challenge Cup, I think is very, very winnable for the Bulls. I genuinely do, and I think that I don't know if they've got enough to win the URC this season, for example. I think Leinster's looking, yeah, I suppose they are kind of like Leinster's bogey side, but Leinster are looking so strong. So I think, I look at the Challenge Cup, and I think that they should be looking at it as a huge, huge opportunity. It's a much better looking scrum from the Bulls, who struggled a little bit. In the second half, since they sort of changed the front rows. Wilco Low was the main sort of decimator. But yeah, so in terms of next weekend, I mean, this same squad will likely stay over in that side and play the games. I don't think they will have a home quarter final. I think they can in theory, but I don't think they will from in terms of a seeding point of view. But we'll have to wait and see exactly who they'll play and where they'll play. But again, you win the quarterfinals, you then got to go away for semi-finals, then obviously it's a neutral location for the final. That will be the Principality Stadium, also known as the Millennium Stadium over in Wales and Cardiff. As Bayonne desperately trying to find way into the Bulls' heart, but Bulls' defense so far standing very, very tall, quite literally. Ruin Nokia looking to try to hold the man up there. And over the ball goes Jan Hendrik Wessels, but illegally so. Hands beyond the ball, says the referee. And we'll have a Bayonne penalty. I don't think it's actually been actually, it has actually. Actually, I can tell you who the Bulls will play. I just need to find the graphic, and it is somewhere. It was quite a while ago, because then they kind of named it after back in like Feb. Where is it? That's the fixtures. Here we go. The Bulls will face Edinburgh, who are higher ranked. So they'll have to go to Edinburgh and take on. So that was if the Lions had won, the Bulls had won, it would have been them in the quarterfinals, which would have been quite interesting. So yeah, so they will travel to Edinburgh. So they'll go straight to Scotland, and I imagine most of the squad will stay. And then the winner of that will likely take on, I think, Bath will probably be the ones to watch out for. Montpellier, Gloucester, the winner of them will take on Bath. On the other side of the bracket, if the Sharks win tomorrow, they will play the winner of Ospreys or Scarlets, which I think they could beat, actually. They're very much on the right side of the draw. I think Bath, for me, are the big the team that you don't want to play. But the Bulls have stolen the line up there. A bit of space up by Stefan Gans to try and put a hammer down, and he does. Still going Stefan Gans. Throws a player down as well. And he gets brought down by the 10-meter line. And a bit of big counter coming from the Bulls. And a penalty for hands. So holding on, says the ref. So another opportunity for Bayonne with 7 minutes to go. Just right by the time, and the Kenya's not managed to stay in, but yeah, there was the penalty before that anyway. Because the vet says Sharks seem to have the easier draw. Yeah, they do. They're definitely on the right side of the draw, because I mean it's got Perpignan, Racing, Osprey, Scarlets, Lyon, Cardiff, Connacht. So a lot of teams we kind of know about. Whereas outside of the draw had, well, Bath for me continues to be the big one. Edinburgh is not an easy side to beat either. So those are the highest ranked one, as well as Montpellier. Can't forget about them. Pick up and go, just short Jeff and Bayonne. A try now will give them hope. A converted try, though, importantly, because they're 14 points behind. They'll need 2 converted tries to force this game into extra time. And they're over. Held up, says the call. A big celebration coming from Ruan Nokia, and that will buy them a lot of time, will the Bulls. And who is it? I think it's Janus Kirsten, actually does very, very well. And as it's Janus Kirsten and Cameron Hanekom. So Janus Kirsten has made the stop, and then Cameron Hanekom managed to actually flip the player and then held him up. So good teamwork with those two. Deep still going, dropping that out to bounce, actually. Not sure it's the right option. Big carry. And back on the front foot here. Less than 5 minutes to play. And they make a blind break. Tom Spring pops it up as well. Is it really able to catch it? No, back inside. And Bayonne do get over eventually. Sharina Yoko's almost managed to stop the player. But there it is. Game very much on. I think it's Tom Spring who goes over eventually. The ball back inside. And bang, steps inside. Yeah, Alicia Tsakweni is found wanting. And then good support play to make himself an option once again. So Spring goes over. Bayonne back in it. Kick to come. They miss this. Tibachin missed this. And all of a sudden, I think that's probably game. If he gets this, then a converted try could push this game to extra time. I think he's missed it, you know. No, he hasn't. Go straight there. I said, look, the angle's a bit odd. So, no issue there. Right, 7 points game. 4 minutes to go. Right, Bulls now just need to manage this game. They just need to play in Bayonne territory. Going deep there is Jan Hurston to the 22. 20 points to 29. Wait for the official clock to give you an update. But yeah, 3 minutes left on the clock. And Edinburgh have already got a day resting. They're currently sitting on their couch watching this. So you can't afford to go to extra time. You can't afford to put any more into these guys' bodies than what they've been doing now. What will be interesting will be to see the team next weekend. If they do maybe fly up a few players. You could have a couple of players on the plane tonight. You could have Billy Rue on the plane tonight. You could have a Kanan Moody, a Kurt Lawrence. Is not available, obviously, but you could have a... who would they like to probably send over? Props-wise, Gerard Stennekamp. I'd love to have Sarah Stennekamp for next weekend. Ruin for Mark. Who else? I think that's more or less it, to be fair. Good line there from the Bulls. 2 minutes down. I said this is all about game management now. Still staying into the more. Yeah, they're wasting valuable seconds here, the Bulls. Clock's ticking down. And eventually going to try and use it now, I think. Or is the ball going to come out? Referee rage blows whistle, but the ball's available there. So it doesn't. That's a good 30 seconds they've wasted, the Bulls. Very good work there from them. And Rosa Pierre eventually does use it. And all the way back goes Ambrose Pierre. He will wait as long as possible. This is high in the air. Sergio Peterson will give chase. And they will mark it, will Bayonne. Tap and go, though. Kevin Hanekom is floating around. David Creel needs to get across. And it's a great tackle from David Creel. And the ball's gone backwards. And he's fumbled as he has made do. And very good work there being done by Stefan Gans. And Cameron Hanekom is on him like a rash. Wins the penalty. Drops the player. That is a big play from Cameron Hanekom. People are asking for a TMO. You don't get to go for a TMO for a penalty here, lads. That should be the game. I would imagine Jan Gerson will take the 3 here. He'll wind it down until the... he's got 30 seconds or 60 seconds. So surely the call here is to go for poles. You can literally end the game here, guys. Yeah, Ronald Kia gets involved and says, go for polls. Yeah, I think it was just checking the time, really. So that'll be it, right? The Bulls will go into the quarterfinals. Now, this makes it a very interesting selection conundrum for Jake White. Does he get the like of Kane Moody over there and Billy LaRue and the likes of that? I don't think they're injured, so I think they are available. And I mean, it's the perfect decision. They got 40 seconds left on the shot clock, and yet there's only 7 seconds left on the game. So full-time score set to be confirmed, but the result will be the Bulls will march into the quarterfinals. They will face Edinburgh. I would imagine if EPCR are nice, they'll put it next week. In fact, they'll probably have to put it next week Saturday, would be my guess. Because the game's tomorrow. So it just tickles in as well. So final score will be 32-22. The Bulls have gone over and beaten 4th place in top 14 Bayonne. It was a rotated side from them. But a huge performance from not even necessarily the full strength Bulls side. They get the job done. They go to the quarterfinals. They're flying the flag high. We'll find out to see if the Sharks can join them tomorrow, maybe. Lines up. But at this stage, we're 1 from 2. From South African side. Let's see if we can make it 2 from 3 tomorrow. Thanks very much for joining me and watching. Please do smash a like on the video. Subscribe as well on the way out. And we'll see you